Hello, and welcome again to another RHI, Rehabilitation Hospital of Indiana, Stories of Courage, Hope, Attitude, and Inspiration. We want to thank our generous donor sponsor, Wilson Kehoe and Winningham. Today we have Mr. Brad Winters, and you were a patient of the year in 2015. So,
Yes.
Brad, thank you for coming in. So it was 2015. Was your
Yes.
so what happened in 2015?
I was at home working, doing some stuff, and I was working on a ladder and honestly did stuff that I was not supposed to do, and I ended up falling off about 12 to 15 foot, landed on my backside and crushed my L2 vertebrae, and ended up in the hospital from that.
Right, so you went to, I think you said IU, and then how long were you there? I know you had surgery. That happened like on a Tuesday, you said? And...
Yes, it was like a Tuesday. From there, we had surgery. I was in the ICU, transferred out of the ICU, and then it was probably about a week that I was in the hospital. I think it was about 7 days, and then I was transferred here. So, and it was not a fun experience in the hospital. It was, something that, it was a large hospital, so you're kind of treated as a number a little bit, and it kind of put me in a little bit of a dark place when it first happened. So, coming here, I was not looking forward to it, and it was something on the very first day when I got here. They kind of said, we're going to do this and this and this, and it was just like, I don't know how to do that. And it was something they showed me, it's the simple thing of sitting up, and it was just like, move this way, and push yourself up. And it was like, I did it, and it didn't hurt. And it was just like, well, hey, there is hope. So it was from day one, I knew things were going to get better.
The extent of your injury, like when you came in, let's have to go back just a little bit. So when you fell off the ladder, what did you feel? 'Cause I know
when it happened, and I'm laying there on the ground, excuse me, I honestly, my son was there and he went to get help. And so as I was laying there, I realized I could not feel my legs, my feet, anything, which is quite scary. And then once they got me into the ambulance, I was able to wiggle my toes, and then you kind of start on that roller coaster, because then it's like, oh, well, this isn't that bad, and I'll go to the hospital, and I'll be in there for a couple of days, and I'll get out and have to do a little bit of physical therapy, and everything will be fine. And then you go in, and then you find out how bad it really is. And I ended up with 2 rods and 8 screws holding my back together now, and I couldn't even get out of bed. And it was, I came here, I was in a wheelchair, and there was no way I could even stand on my own at that point. And it's like I said, I was in a very dark place at that point, because it's just like, what have I lost?
So when you got transferred here, and then that first full day they had you.
The first day, it was showing me how to sit up, and it was just like, okay, well, I can do that. And then we went into the gym, and they were kind of showing me around, and this is what we're going to be doing. And it's just like, it's like, well, we're going to have you do this. And it was just, but it was kind of one of those things. It's, from the first day, it's like, well, I can do that. And it's like, I don't think you should do that. And it was kind of, I kind of wanted to prove that, yes, I'm not going to be in here that long, and this is going to go quick. And, I pushed myself pretty hard the first day, and they kind of let me. And it was something, the next day when my aide came walking into the room, and it was just like, I'm just like,
You were feeling it.
Yeah, and she just looked at me. It's like, "Yeah, you're feeling it, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Okay, so now you know you can't do that much that quick." So and it was something, she let me do it because she knew I needed to realize, where I was really at. And again, it was from there. It was just working together. We got to know each other really well. She knew my family knew her, and it was, it was just an ongoing experience, and we just kind of egged each other on all the time, and it turned into a very positive thing. I mean, it's like I said, that first day, being as dark as it was, and then you just have that, boom, there's that little tiny light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing, and it's just like, there is hope.
Hope. There we go. You got that covered. That's part of the checklist. And there was something that you said before we got started, and it kind of tickled me, but it's very what happens, I think, to everybody here. There were some days they came in very Pollyanna, right? Yeah. So tell me about
it. There are days. I mean, it's everybody has ups and downs, and it's there are times you just wake up and you're just like, I don't want to really do this, and it's like, let's just go slow. And they come in and they're just so happy and perky, and it's just, and but you just have to keep pushing, and they're they were always positive. It's like you get down, and they would it's like, no, we've got to this is why you're doing this. And she would start talking to me, it's like, I'd start talking about my wife or start talking about my kids, and it's like, this is why you're doing this. And it was something that, you kind of, they would work and get that motivation to you. And then it's just like, okay, let's go. And, it's tough. I mean, there was nothing easy about it. It's, like I said, I mean, I came in a wheelchair and couldn't even hardly feel my legs and everything, and it was just being able to get up and start moving and get that, and it gave me a great appreciation. And it's something you never think about walking. You learn it when you're 1 year old, and you just never think about it. It's like moving your hands and talking, and it's just an everyday occurrence. And then all of a sudden, if you lose the ability to do something like that, I mean, it's very traumatic, and it's very easy to go dark. And it's working back, and it's now I have a much more appreciation for it.
How long were you inpatient?
I was inpatient for about a month. It was actually scheduled for about 6 weeks, and they kind of booted me out a little bit early. They thought, it's like I'm good enough to go home and just do outpatient. And then that was scheduled for, I believe, another 6 weeks, but I ended up doing about 4 of that, and then they said, you're good enough, get out of here. So, and it was just something that they pushed me through. But it's not that they were trying to cycle me in and out, but it's just they motivated me enough that I was able to do what I need to do and pull myself up and go. So
I know you talked a little bit, like I guess I'll use the word fortitude in that, but you're saying you have to do this. I mean,
yes,
yeah, it's just like I don't really necessarily want to do it, but I have to do it to get it.
Yeah, I mean, she wanted me to do it. My wife wanted me to do it. My children wanted me to do it, but it was up to me to say, I have to do it. There's, and you just have to have that mindset, because, no matter what anybody else wants, if you don't want to do it, it's not going to work right.
Right.
So it's a matter of keeping the positive attitude and just working through it. And again, there were days that were dark. Even after that, you would have little setbacks here and there, but it's just like, okay, I got to keep going.
And today, like I said, meeting you in the lobby, I mean, you're not using anything, right? You're walking.
No, yeah.
You don't.
So and there's, you know, I mean, I'm not 100%. I still have problems with the nerves, and anybody who's had this kind of injury, I mean, you learn nerves are nerves. You know, sometimes they'll come right back. Sometimes they may never come back. It could be, you know, 5 years down the road, and all of a sudden they're just there. So there's still a possibility they could come back, but you know, it's even now, you know, I have that, and you know, there are days they'll act up, and you know, it's not great days, but you know, it's like I just looked at least I'm moving.
Well, and you also made a comment too. It's just like, at least you're walking. You can at least complain about it,
Yeah.
right? You,
Yeah.
you have that.
Yeah, I you know, it's one of those things that it's funny because I hear people complain. It's like oh, my back, it just hurts, and I just kind of look, and it's just not to diminish what they're feeling, but it's just like, yeah, you have no idea how bad it could be. So, and I see other people that have had serious issues, and it's just like, okay, yeah, now I can really sympathize with you. I understand how bad it can be.
It gives you a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, we want to say thank you very much for coming in.
Well, thank you.
And as you heard, he touched on getting hope and seeing the light at the end of a tunnel, and I think that's what we do best here, is give people hope where they can see that, yeah, you're going to get out of here, right? And
yeah, you know, and it's up to you to do it, and it's, you know, it's trying to keep that positive attitude, and you know, just keep looking forward.
very good. Thank you very much.
All right.
Very
thank you.
good. Thank you.